Hi everyone, this is Brandy with Zoom Roses, back with another arrangement that I'm completely obsessed with. This is our Autumn Glow Lantern, and it is absolutely beautiful. It's perfect for the month of October or for Thanksgiving to offer as a centerpiece. This is using our combo box called the Fall Extravaganza Combo Box. And I've pulled some greenery from one of our Autumn Breeze pre-made bouquets, but you can use just some leatherleaf and pit that you have sitting around. This lantern actually came from Dollar Tree. They have them in two different sizes, so they actually have a smaller size if you don't want to do the larger size. So for this arrangement, you're going to need one of the larger lanterns that you can get at Dollar Tree, a half of a brick of Oasis foam, a little bit of waterproof tape, and of course your clippers. Now out of our Fall Extravaganza box, you're going to need 2 stems of our orange LA lilies, 2, possibly 3 pieces of the spiral eucalyptus out of that box, 2 pieces of yellow solidago, 2 of the dianthus, and 3 of the sunflowers. And like I said, a couple of pieces of leatherleaf and pit should do the trick. So let's get started. So first of all, you're going to need a half a piece of Oasis, but this entire piece is not going to fit through this opening here. So what I like to do is cut it down to 1/3, and I put this aside. I'm going to slide this into the arrangement, and a note, you will need to seal the bottom of these or at least put a liner in it. Piece of cellophane, anything like that would work to put underneath the foam because these do leak. I did find that out. Then I like to take the other little piece of Oasis and cut it in half. And I'm going to use these 2 pieces to wedge the sides of this piece of foam, just so it doesn't move around. And no, they don't have to be the same height. They just need to fit in there on one side and then again on the other side. And you may have to cut a little bit of it off, just like that, to get it to fit in perfectly. If you want that extra little bit of security, you can take a piece of the black waterproof tape and put it across. And with waterproof tape, you can hit it with a lighter right where it is attaching to the side of the lantern to kind of seal the grip and make it stay. Just hit it with the lighter long enough for it to get warm and push it down, and it will stay. Okay, now let's get started with our greenery. So I like to piece apart my leather leaf. I don't want to make it too long because what I don't want are these big pieces of leather leaf sticking out on the sides and then the flowers tucked in underneath and between the greenery. I don't want my greenery to be the first thing that people see. I want it to be my flowers. And so I'm going to just take any of these larger pieces of leather leaf with the nice pointy edges, and I'm just going to go all around the sides of the lantern until I have a nice little camouflage of my mechanics. I'm going to put some inside to make sure I cover the top of the Oasis foam. Yes, I'm going to be putting flowers in there, but still I need to try to cover up my mechanics as much as possible. So just going all around the edges with the leather leaf first. And truthfully, you can use any type of greenery you would like. I always encourage my kids to go and maybe forage for some different types of greenery outside, branches, especially if the leaves are turning and you've got access to some really beautiful bushes or trees. You can use some of that too. I would test it first in water and in foam to see if it sheds or if it will hold up after being cut. I usually find that any type of woodsy stem, those things will usually last when they've been cut. If it has a really soft stem, sometimes it goes limp. So you definitely need to check first if you're not sure. If you have myrtle, that works really well. Oak works well. Magnolia works wonderfully. So if you have access to a magnolia tree, that is always great greenery. Okay, the pit. Now let's go in with our variegated pittosporum. And again, we're just going to fill in on the sides and on the top just to cover up our mechanics. All the way around, distributed evenly. This is not a one-sided arrangement. It will look beautiful from all sides. So, and you can always move your greenery around and fill in some more later once you put in your flowers. Let's see. Just like that. I may set this pit aside, the extra pit that I have, so that I can come back to it and use it at the end if I have a few places that need to be filled in. Okay, first let's go with our focal flowers. So we have our 3 sunflowers that we're going to use. Now I'm going to cut the first sunflowers. Always cut your sunflowers at an angle. Cut all of your flowers at an angle for that fact. And then I'm going to place this first one in the center of my arrangement, straight down into the foam. I don't want to tuck it in too far. The second sunflower, I'm going to place up front and to the right. Make sure it gets down into that foam, just like that. And then my next sunflower, I'm going to place it in the back here and to the left, just to distribute them evenly across the arrangement. And if you're worried about your sunflower heads snapping off, I would wire them. You can definitely wire those. Okay, just like that. Now let's go to our LA lilies. So, when you receive lilies from Zoom, they are going to be super tight, and that's because they come straight from the farm. They're healthy, and they are going to last you a long time. Now, if you need your lilies to open quickly, I do what we call a greenhouse effect on the lilies. I will cut them, I will place them in a 5-gallon bucket in warm water, and then I will either put a trash bag or a big cellophane bag over the top of them and tuck it down into the sides so that that's kind of steam and heat from the water starts opening up the flowers. You can also put them to where they get some direct sunlight, leave them out at room temperature, and you'll see them start opening very quickly. So these are a little bit young. You can gently manipulate an LA lily with your fingers to get it to open, but this takes a very gentle hand to do. I always like to pull out the anthers so that when they pollinate, because when they pollinate, you get pollen everywhere and it causes them to mature way too quickly. So I pull all of that out. I'm gonna cut off, if you will usually have like 1 or 2 really good blooms that are either blooming or about to bloom. So I will cut those off individually. I'm going to go on the opposite sides of the sunflowers, and those will continue to open when they get their arrangement. And then I also like to use the ones that are not open because that adds a really nice texture to the entire arrangement. So I might put those in kind of around that big lily bloom. You don't have to cut the stem and use the entire stem. You can cut the individual blooms off of it and use them that way. And actually it's a lot easier to make them do what you want, and you can stick them into an arrangement when you have like a tighter situation like this. because if I were to take this and try to cut it right here and stick the entire thing into the arrangement, it would stick out way too far. So I'm not going to do that. All right, this one definitely needs to be opened very, very carefully. LA lilies are so fragile. And if you haven't figured it out yet, they can wrinkle, crease, the petals can break if you're not very gentle. So make sure your kids understand that they need to be very gentle with these. And I just take my finger and slide it right down the petal. That will separate it from the other petals. And then I just reach in there, pull out the center, throw that aside so it doesn't get on everybody's clothes once those pop open. Now I put one orange lily over here. I'm gonna go across and I'm going to do it on the opposite side. Just like that. Again, I'm going to take off the individual blooms, even if they haven't bloomed, and I'm going to use every bit of that LA lily stem. All right, so now we have placed our LA lilies. Now let's go to our purple dianthus. And you will probably have several different blooms that you can cut apart when you get these. They may come in, again, very tight with hardly any color on them. If you will cut them and put them in a little bit of warm water and leave them out at room temp, they will bloom out and you'll start seeing that beautiful color. So now I have my lilies on opposite ends, I have my sunflowers on opposite ends and in the center. So now I'm going to fill in with my purple dianthus. And depending on how long those stems are, you can fill in wherever you need. Sometimes you've got quite a bit of space in between the sunflowers that you can fill in. So I'm going to turn this and put one here behind the sunflower. And then I have this piece over here. So then I'm going to use this piece over here on this side of the sunflower. And I try to just go across. I go opposite. So if I'm putting some over here on this side, I'm gonna put some over on this side. And then I'm getting a very large piece here. So now I can go over to this side and fill in very nicely with that dianthus. And actually I'm going to move this piece and put it over here because I have that pop of purple there. And then I'll put a pop of purple over here. And that one's not bloomed out very much yet, but that's okay. It will bloom. Now we have our yellow solidago. Again, we're going to use this to fill in between our flowers. I love to cut the top off and use that little tuft. And then if I can make several different cuts down the side and even use some of these individual pieces like this, I will do that. So now I just need to find the places that need to be filled in with large amounts of color. So I have that one. Now I'm gonna come back here to the opposite side and I'm gonna fill in right here. And pull that through, make sure it's showing. This is almost too long, so I'm going to cut it in half and then use these pieces all throughout the arrangement. And again, tell your kids to be super careful because once you place those LA lilies, you need to be careful about accidentally hitting them with the hand because again, they will bruise, they will break. It just takes a very delicate hand to work with LA lilies. Okay, now I have this extra piece, so I'm going to take it and find a spot that needs some yellow. And now I have my last piece of solidago. And I'm going to cut the top off just like that. And then I got at least two pieces out of that one. So I'm going to turn it and take a look. It looks like I really need some solidago here. And then I'm going to shift this one to where it's sticking out just a little bit more. Very nice. And it's really just about eyeballing it and making sure that you have a nice distribution of of the solidago all the way around. And that's why I like to cut it apart, because it can become very overwhelming to have just a big blob of solidago in one place. Okay, just like that. So it's okay, once you put something into the arrangement, you can always take it out and move it around. Now the spiral eucalyptus, it also comes in the Fall Extravaganza box. I like to use 2 to 3 pieces of this, and it just gives it some nice height. You can cut it apart and use the top and the bottom. So I usually cut them apart, and I want these kind of sticking out and up above the arrangement. You can always trim the bottom if there's a few dried pieces on the bottom. This is also fun if you hit this with some Design Master. If you have Design Master, maybe a metallic gold or the metallic silver or copper, just to change it and make it a different color. Eucalyptus always holds Design Master color really well. So now I'm just going to find different spots where I can put the spiral eucalyptus just to give it a little bit of depth, because when this sticks out and you have lots of flowers tucked in, all of this negative space looks really great. Okay, last piece. You can also use curly willow if you would like, and have the curly willow kind of sticking up and out above the flowers. Now, one other thing that I had from the Autumn Breeze pre-made bouquet that I didn't use with another arrangement were the 3 cattails that came in that pre-made bouquet. Again, you don't have to add this, but I sure do love the way that it looks. So I, again, am going to kind of find my triangles and find a few different places where I can put these at different heights. Just gives it a different texture, and it looks really nice as far as that fall feel goes. These make absolutely wonderful centerpieces for Thanksgiving. You actually can get a candle if you would like and put it in the center on the top of the Oasis foam and then build the flowers around, or you can just offer it like this, just filled with flowers. So I really hope that you love this lantern arrangement, and I know that your students are going to have a blast with this one.